So, hi, good morning. This is Barbara, the East Coast Dragon Lady, and I'm here today, really impromptu, I have to say. This was not my normal planned, oh, we're going to do it on this day, with Jacalyn, who is actually, she's British, but she's living currently in France. So I'll get you to introduce yourself in a minute. And we just thought when we met, and we'll talk about that as well, just a few weeks ago, there was this instant connection, and Merlin and dragons came up almost immediately. And then Merlin was like all excited. And as I've explained before, he's usually over my shoulder going, and this, and he was so excited that we'd actually connected. And I have to say, so in about 30 minutes, Tina Breen is going to join us, because it was Tina that connected us around the DCT. So we'll also talk about that because I want Tina to explain what it did for her, and what I've seen as well with her. So I'm excited. I mean, literally a lot of this is I've been connecting to some other things, but I think that our conversation around Merlin and the dragons was fascinating. So we thought, rather than me go onto your podcast, because you have a podcast as well, we thought, let's record something, because we were talk. Let's record something so that we can share it on both of our podcasts. So
thank you. That's a great intro.
Thank you. So, and I will let you share sort of who you are and what you're doing right now.
Oh, it's such a big question, isn't it? In this now moment, I'm in a community and I teach deep coherence technique. I received the technique direct from the quantum field through a group of beings called the Nine. And they reconnected me actually to who I was and who I've always been. And it all started in May of 2024 last year, which I know was a very interesting year for a lot of people. And I had a deep night of the soul. I completely lost more or less everything in my life, everything imploded. And at the same time, I became one with the quantum field. I immediately began to pick up a resonance feed, a stream. That's how I call it. It's not a download, it's a resonance of vibration. And I found myself able to translate into human language what was coming on down. So the first thing that came down was DCT, deep coherence technique, which I'll get into in a minute. The other thing that came through was this sentence, which is kind of bizarre. And it was beyond Earth from Kali Yuga to cosmic age. Kali Yuga, knew nothing about it. Cosmic age, what the? And beyond Earth, I live on Earth. Hello, I liked Earth. But it took about 8 months for me to really assimilate the information, and I calibrated into the community, into a course. But I think where you and I spark is that I'm British, as you know, and I'm going to show you my dragon tattoo super quick. So this is the only tattoo I have. It's a Celtic dragon. It's from the Book of Kells. And one of my first memories as a very small baby in my crib was seeing a golden dragon just curling around the top of the crib. And I had no fear. It felt very, very comforting to me. And so dragons, I grew up in Wales. What's the symbol of Wales? The dragon. I'm also very connected to the ley lines, Avebury, Stonehenge, and my ancient indigenous wisdom as a British person. And so for me, dragons represent so many things, but I think primarily they represent the divine feminine wisdom for me. I appreciate that there are male and female dragons that represent all kinds of things for people. But so that was my entry point, and that's where you and I sparked an interest, because I was like, do you know what, Barbara, I want to talk about dragons. I haven't talked about dragons in a long time, so let's do some dragon talk. And then you shared about Merlin, and it was like, I know Merlin.
Yes. Yeah. And Merlin often says, I'm many things to many, many people. And he pops up when we need him, or when we need some wisdom, or, for me, it was, I remember exactly where I met him was in some local woodland. Literally, I'd got divorced in the summer, and it was the fall, and I was walking in the woods with my dogs. And I remember thinking, I don't remember seeing such beautiful colors. Like, I really don't. I'm like, why have I never seen these beautiful colors in the fall? And I was like, wow. And then there was Merlin, And I didn't even think, like, why am I seeing this wizard? It was just like, there was Merlin, and he was talking to me. And every time I would go and walk in the woods, there was Merlin, and he would talk to me.
Yeah.
And I never questioned. I laugh now because it was like, oh yeah, that was Merlin. And he, when I see him, he's like the typical pointed hat, long beard, staff. He's small, but that's how I see Merlin. And we've since had many, many conversations. And he always says that he's been many things to many, many people over many
Mm.
years. And he's very, very old. And he sometimes
Yeah.
says, I'm old and I'm slow, so you just have to wait.
Yeah. Oh, that's
very,
amazing.
but very he's very particular about how he speaks. So I always love that way, especially when I'm do automatic writing with him, because he will put in all that old English in there. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
gorgeous. Yeah, beautiful. So
yeah.
when you say you saw him, did you see a vision or did you receive it in your mind's eye?
I think it was right. I mean, he looked real. So I know I was
Wow.
yeah, he looked real. That's why. And when I've told the story, I always go, why didn't I question it? But
Yeah.
I wasn't really that. I just done started Reiki, so I wasn't very spiritually awakened. But there was
Hmm.
Merlin, and it was like he was familiar. I mean, he's since in our conversation has said that I've been his scholar many times. He's been my scholar. I've been his dragon. He's been my dragon. I mean, he also appears as Merlin the dragon. He loves
Hmm.
to oh his Tina. So he loves to be yeah, be a dragon as well. So so how have you perceived him?
Yeah, for me, he's a druidic, Celtic archetype. I
Mhm.
think, very Lord of the Rings, Gandalf,
Yeah,
a priest, a leader, a way shower, definitely interdimensional. And I think that he speaks through the tradition of the ancient British. I think that he speaks to us in a way that other beings speak to their cultures. And so everything that you've shared to me about him resonates because that's how he comes across to me as well. For
yeah,
me, it's not a real being in terms of me seeing him, but he's definitely a guiding presence. I would say that much in terms
yeah.
of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why he says he's many things to many people,
Yeah,
because a lot of people
exactly.
will say, oh, yeah, well, I connect with Merlin.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he wants to be. But yes, I never, as I said, I've never really questioned it. I was just like, oh, and I didn't even then like put him as a figure. It's just like Merlin was there, and he was always there in the woods because he likes to be there. And I always feel he lives there. So,
Yeah. Well, the
woodland.
woodlands of England are and Wales are very special.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, this was in the United States, but it was
Oh,
the
wow.
town I was
Cool.
living in.
Yeah.
There was a big forest, and I had a fairly biggish dog at the time, and she used to love to run. So it was like she could go off running because she would never let me leave without her. And I just
Mm.
went on my walks, and I think I was probably in meditation. I do remember saying I really struggled to meditate,
Mm.
whereas I found I could meditate if I was walking.
Yeah.
So it was in that state that I met him. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. And then you said as well that when you heard my last name, that there was a connection there in the dragon bloodlines. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So on my mother's side, we are Worsleys. We go back about 8 generations, and we're Worsleys. And when I saw your name, I felt a kinship vibration match,
right.
even though we're not blood kin. Your child is my blood kin,
Yes.
and I felt this immediate. It felt like the ley line. The bloodline is the ley line that connects us
Yes.
all. And if you get a small, I mean, if you look at the statistics on the UK, for example, and Ireland and places like that, there aren't that many of us, and we do bottleneck. We do come from we're all mostly related if you go back far enough. So
Yes.
that
Yeah.
felt really like a nice kinship
Yeah.
connection as well.
Yeah. I know with the Worsleys, which was my ex-husband,
Yeah.
uh, they were Lancashire Worsleys.
Yes, that's
Back,
right.
back,
We're Lancashire too.
yes. And interestingly, as I said, I've got an adopted son who I adopted in England. but he was from the north of his mother was from the north of England. So I've always felt like I never really treat my two as any different. He's been part of our circle before. Just he didn't come in the traditional way. He came a different way that time.
Right. He chose his way, his entry
Yes,
point.
it was, yeah. But there's always been that sort of, and with my in-laws, they will always be like, well, Lancashire Worsleys. And then I used to live just outside of Portsmouth in England, and we had friends that had family on the Isle of Wight. And we found a whole village called Worsley where there was a church and a graveyard full of just Worsleys. It was like really weird. It was like, okay, because the Isle of Wight, they often say they interbreed. But there was a whole
they're island people for sure. They have a way of
yes.
looking at the world. But the Worsleys, but if you go back far enough, they were aristocrats. I mean, they fell on harder times, but they had a very proud house and estate and lineage. So yeah, that was fascinating to get that connection. It was like tick tick tick, on a few boxes. Thank you, Tina, for introducing us. A mutual friend.
Yeah. So I know that. So originally, I was saying before we started recording that originally I'd asked you, Tina, you had posted about DCT, about the 28-day challenge, and anybody wants any information, connect with me. So I immediately messaged her and said, what's DCT? Do you want to come and talk about it? And then Tina, you weren't too sure if you wanted to go on camera. And you said, let me connect you with Jacalyn. And that was just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which
you opened the door, Tina.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to do.
Well, you were successful.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you. I was saying to Jacalyn as well before we started recording that I noticed a big shift in you as well. From when I first met you, when you wouldn't come on camera, to suddenly you were posting things and you were talking, like with I don't know what the word is, but very you were very in your body, very centered, and very powerful the way you're speaking now.
Well, thank you. To be honest, I do owe it to Deep Coherence Technique. Thank you, Jacalyn, for posting those early on. I've been with her early on in another membership. I came across her, had never heard of her, but I liked what I saw, and I reached out to my best social networking friend, and the next day she's on there live with me, and we've just been going ever since. And my throat chakra has opened. I have I have actually started to receive the love that's been given to me instead of just holding it back and not really noticing it. And I'm seeing it a lot more. There's a lot of people that love me out there, and it makes me feel a little more confident in doing these kinds of things. So it's a little bit. I think maybe my back pain might have been just my body saying, do you really want to do this? And I just had to, because I've had some back pain for the last couple of days. And I know in my deep down in my soul that a lot of my physical problems and issues that I deal with actually stem from up in here, and negative thinking, the monkey mind, all that stuff. So I feel better now, and I am getting through it. But when I woke up this morning, I kind of feeling better. I kind of thought, I think all this that I felt for the last couple of days, icky and just not really all there, is the stress knowing this was coming up. And
I didn't mean to give you
so
stress.
grounding, doing the technique every morning and when I can. I can't do it live anymore. It's still dark at that point in time, and my eyes are like, "Ah." And I've
Yeah, we do it
overslept.
at 7 a.m. now for the
And
early bird
that's
workers.
6 a.m. for me.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that means I got to get up by about 5 to be able to work a machine.
Yeah.
So no, I have missed it. I keep telling, I like the sabotage thing. I think that's part of it. So I actually went to sleep early yesterday and woke up at 4 o'clock this morning.
Oh, Tina, so did I.
Uh,
I was awake. I've been awake since 4 o'clock, and I was blaming it on the conversation that started on Friday after the DCT with the
mhm.
galactics, and I woke up because I went to sleep saying, "You can talk to me while I'm asleep, but let me get some sleep." And I woke up at 4 o'clock, and I could not go back to sleep. That's
Yeah.
weird.
It's a 4 o'clock thing, girls.
Is it a 4 o'clock thing? Oh,
Yeah, I have to
Yeah.
tell you. I mean, I was always a late riser, Tina, and now I get up. The latest I get up is 6. I'm
wow.
usually waking up 4:30, got a cup of coffee, 5 o'clock. And it's just, I have to tell you, it is such a magical time. It is
Yeah,
so pure and clear at that time, you
it
know?
is.
It
Yeah,
is. 'Cause for
yeah.
me, I got to tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed the 2 hours by myself with no movement in the house.
It's
Mhm.
You
beautiful.
know,
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
I
one wants
did.
anything, just you and
yeah,
the universe.
Right.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Something to be
yeah. And
said for that quiet time.
it works for me 7 a.m.
Yeah.
because it's the time I just get up a little bit earlier so that I can actually dedicate that half an hour, but I can get it done before I have to get on with my day or go into work if I'm going in. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was interesting to wake up at 4 o'clock. So yeah, and I know you said on Friday to watch our sleep, right? So
Yeah, and then we talked about sleep, didn't we? Yeah, exactly. Sleep is going to change. We're 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 being upgraded, and I think because we're becoming light beings because of all the waveforms that are coming in this evolutionary leap. Most of us are just experiencing sleep so differently now. It's like a thinning of the veil. We need less of it. Our naps are deeper, they're more recuperative. We're getting more energy revitalizing from the earth herself and from this sun. So you just find that you're eating differently. Now I know Tina for a fact is doing these incredible herbal teas. The plants are speaking to her through that, revitalizing her body. And so there are so many ways that we're now revitalizing ourselves that I think it's natural for us to be waking up. Also the solar flares. The
yeah,
solar flares are waking us up
yes,
with
yeah,
peak
Mhm.
energy.
yeah. I've noticed this year in particular that I
Yeah.
have felt the solar flares sometimes like in my body. But I'm very
Yeah.
aware of, when somebody posts about, oh, there's just been a peak or whatever,
Yep.
I'm like, oh, that's what it is. And I think that's as our vibration, as we ascend, we're much more. I'm noticing that I'm much more sensitive to things than I was before. I can't stand watching the news. Um,
No,
I
or
can't
animal
anything to do with
suffering or
animals. No,
children. It's like, oh
I have to turn.
no.
I got to the point when everybody puts on mindless TV, right? And I always I had to listen to the news, and I found I was turning it off because I didn't want to hear a certain person, or I don't want to hear that, I don't want to see that,
No.
and
Don't
I've
want that
just
vibration.
no, I've just stopped, and I haven't missed it at all. And it's just like even with the weather, like we just had some snow, and it's like a surprise to me. And I'm like, oh, was it going to snow today?
Yeah, because you're
Yeah,
in the
We
moment.
actually we actually had some snowfall yesterday
so
around.
did you?
Oh, it was around 12 o'clock. My husband looked up and said, "It's snowing. Turn around and look." And sure enough, it was. Now we woke up with sleet all over the ground from the night
Yeah,
before, but it wasn't snow. But
right.
we knew it was coming, and it was just a light snow flurry. Nothing. I mean, it melted as soon as it hit the ground. And we actually have sun out today. I get to go out today for the first time in 3 days. I've been holed up in the house.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
good. Get that sun.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So we were still, so we were, where were we? So, I mean, I think that certainly my audience, I've certainly already had questions from people about what's DCT, what is
Oh, I
Yeah.
saw them.
what's this 28-day challenge? So I
Yeah,
think that'd be
I can I can explain it as best as
yes,
I mean.
yeah. I think that
So
would be,
let me back up and just say where it
yeah,
came from. So
yes.
I have no background in yoga. I have no background in meditation. I've never meditated before last May of 2024. When I became one with the quantum field through completely surrendering through a crisis, dark night of the soul, one of the first things that came through was a 5-step grounding body activation. 5 steps. So the first one is we ground to the earth. The second one is we breathe in and activate the light body using pranayama breath work, 5 box breaths. Number 3, we prime our electromagnetic field using our hands. Why? Because they're antennae. This is what you can use. You can use it and you can play with these. These are fantastic. And the feet. You can really get in there and start to get to know who you are 6 feet out all the way around. Step number 4, we go through the heart and we connect to what I call the powered I am. This is the greater I am that is connected to the smaller localized I am who I am. So we close that gap, bring them together, and then we run our unlimited power throughout our day. That's why most people find it a great way to start the day. And then number 5, we do power of 8. We come into vortex. So we connect with all of the meditators. We bring that vortex energy through. We run it through the pineal gland because we have to get permission first before we run in group energy, right? Sometimes it doesn't run, sometimes, a lot of the time it does. And then we send that down to the heart. And then it's the heart that waveforms out coherence. Why coherence? It's not just about being peaceful and calm. Coherence is what allows complex intelligence and ecosystems to emerge. That means, in layman's term, the more you can become coherent, the wider your bandwidth is, and the more awareness and lucidity and knowingness that you can hold without feeling that you're being pulled around by your own epiphanies. So it comes from the quantum field. I believe it is going to be what they call a cosmic age activation. I believe at some point it will probably replace a lot of Kali Yuga meditation techniques because it's very quick and it brings you into a continuous in-body now moment presence. And we call this omnipresence. So the point of being in a human body, it isn't to escape. It isn't to find answers out there. All of the clues, all of the answers are within us, and we have our own set of values and truths. So the 5-step meditation, non-denominational, you can believe whatever you want and you can run it, and it will complement any other thing that you're doing in your life for your own truth seeking. So it's not a guru space. It's not anything like that. It really is a one size fits all. And we say to you, if you do, and when I say we, I talk about the community, but I also speak on behalf of the beings, the 9 beings that help and guide me. So they're called the 9. We say to you, try 28 days. There is something magical about repeating something for 28 days. It has everything to do with electromagnetism. And we say after 28 days of just practicing, you will have something shift in your life. And it's not my personal claim. It's the claim that I've seen in my own life and I see it in other people's lives. So it takes about 11 minutes and we do it Monday to Friday. We have the weekends off. We take the weekends off, although I do it by myself. And I notice when I don't do it. So that's how much it is now. It's like brushing my teeth, taking a shower. It's a no-brainer for me to do this.
Right. Yeah. And I used to say, I told you earlier that for many years, I've done a simple grounding because I'm also a Pisces. And I was like, if I'm not careful, I go like floating out there, not grounded at all. And it was the dragons actually told me that because I was like, why can I do this? Why can I connect to you so easily? And they were like, because you're grounded. And the deeper you can ground yourself, the higher vibrations you can meet, which now makes perfect sense, as I shared with you, that only in 5 days of doing it and connecting with the Earth's core, I have been like shot out into outer space, connecting.
And you're grounded because you're safe.
I'm grounded.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow. So I think that's, and that's 5 days. I can't imagine what another few of those are going to do.
28 days.
Another 28 days. But
Yeah.
I do think that, and I've heard that before from that, you know, when we're firmly connected, we can our vibration will reach much higher and much easier. Like I don't have to do meditation because they're sort of like here. Right?
Do you mind if I bring through a live stream, because I'm connected to
No,
the quantum field, and
no,
if they want to speak, then they'll speak through me.
yeah.
So we speak so often about ascended masters, but one of the hardest things to do is to become a descended master. It's actually really challenging to bring down the vastness and the greatness of who you are as the I am that I am, and bring it down into the little who I am is who I am, little old me. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to do that. And then when we come down here, it's almost like we're looking around trying to find the clues, when everything is about being alive in a nuanced, novel life. So the reason we say this is because imagine you are source creator God. You are one with everything. And because you're one with everything, it's the equivalent of not knowing anything, because there's no context, there's no perspective. So when our I am comes through as a beautiful human, as an individuated part of the presence, what you do is you bring through a gift of individuation for creator who seeks relationship, not worship. And so creator sees the world out through you, not looking down at you. So it's kind of reversing the mirror and the shadows on the cave of Plato's cave, where for 5,000 years under the age of the age of Pisces, patriarchy, Kali Yuga, call it what you want, we have been looking at the mirror instead of looking at who we are. And so the nine say it's time to go and see yourself as a descended master, and to own it, and to burn your path with whatever gifts and truths you feel fit to share with the world, whatever it is. And that's what's making this time so special. It's cosmic age. Yes, we're going to go to the stars, but we're going to take this gold inside of us and waveform it out and create an amazing society on this planet right now and here. So it's the best time to be alive. And I do feel that the dragons have been like, gosh, we've been waiting for a long time for this to come online, because we've been holding space for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that makes sense. Yes. And you're right. They've been sitting there going, we're just waiting. I often tell people as well, when they say, how do I connect? I'm like, they're right there. You just have to say,
exactly.
Hello. Yeah. I'm here. What do you want? Because oftentimes I think people feel they have to ask somebody else. And I'm like, ask the dragons. Just ask them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, the nine say often, remember that you forgot to remember, and remember to ask better questions. So the nine and some of these really ascended guides that are holding space for humans, with humans, not for humans, they say, ask the right questions, because we can't lean in and share what we know, but we can answer questions. So there are questions that are really, really interesting that I think ordinary folks who aren't religious, aren't even spiritual, are saying, I wonder, in physics, like, I wonder why that's happening. It's a good question. Let's find out. So you're going to see science, and you're going to see philosophy, and you're going to see spirituality, metaphysics becoming one thing again. And that is when I feel the mythical creatures, the dragons, and all of them will feel confident about coming back again and showing themselves to us, because I feel like that is going to happen too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's true for people that see dragons, because not all dragons want to be seen, but if you see dragons, and I shared the other day that, when I first saw dragons, I had no connection at all to dragons ever. And then I saw dragons in the sky, at least 6 of them, huge, literally in the clouds. I almost felt like I could touch them, and I took pictures of them, because I'm like, I have to prove to myself, like, why am I seeing dragons? And then other times they will talk to me, and I don't see them, because they say that we don't need to, the same as they don't need names, but we are very human and we need to give them names. I have had a few recently that have told me what their name is. But anyway, in the language they speak, we wouldn't understand it because of the frequency. But they know that we're human and that we want to give a name or a label to them.
Yeah, exactly. We did a meditation the other day where our community went into the second dimensional elemental world,
Yeah.
and we experienced this is the world of myth, this is the fairy tale, this is the world of your childhood. And we went there, and the reason we went there is to bring up the elemental truths. The elements are waiting for us that they're there to help us awaken. So I just want to show you, I carry a rock around with me all the time. I carry my feather. I surround myself with the elemental. If you saw in here, you would think it was like some kind of Merlin's cave. And the reason that the nine say is to be as solid as a rock, so be connected always to the earth. She's got your back. Nothing bad will ever happen to you if you're connected to the earth. But they say to be as light as a feather, to be as clear and light. And that just means that we don't hold on to things, people, places, things. We forgive, we let go, and we're fluid, and we flow with life. And it just gives us a lightness of being that makes life much more fabulous, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, Tina, you'd actually posted something about the elementals on WhatsApp.
Oh, yeah. After we did our meditation and did the elementals, I woke up and had seen about the day before, I think it was the same day, about an earthquake in China, a large one, or not, well, near China. And then I'm, looking, and all of a sudden it hit me, we're asking for signs, and we're seeing those signs. The elements are speaking to us. We've got the storms, that's water and air. You've got the fires in Los Angeles, that's wind and fire.
Yep.
You've got the earthquakes, and not just one. I mean, I can tell you there's been 3 about 2 hours from me, between the Louisiana and Texas border. Now, my first comment they were small ones, like 3.0, was, well, that's all the darn fracking, it's my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know. But what I am definitely seeing is a lot of trauma situations that we really don't have any control over because it's elemental. And I think they're telling us that Earth is going through a change. I have read a lot and done a lot of studies over my lifetime because I think my basic element is Earth, and I'm drawn to Earth, and I love Earth. Earth has been around for a long, long time, and it's gone through several different changes. The poles have flipped, hence the ice age and all that other stuff. And what I see is the elements are telling the humans to get ready. They're coming at a faster pace. What we used to see was once every few years, once a year. I know yesterday I heard from the weatherman that 2024 was the hottest year on Earth, point blank. In all the years recorded, 2024 had the highest temperatures. So there again, you've got your heat, your fire. So the elements, and I'm really big in seeing the elements and how they work together. So, I liked Kevin's little program, Meet Your Elemental Dragons, and I've met all of mine. And, it's, the best story is the story of meeting my earth dragon. It was after a journey to meet my water dragon where I had a lot of fun. And I came out of it, and I was parked at the library facing unincorporated lot where there was a lot of plants, a lot of trees, lots of stuff. And it was just a beautiful spot, and it always gave me peace. So when I wanted to meditate and get away from everybody, I would go park at the library with my car facing this little grove. I woke up and I heard, it's not, I came out of the meditation and I'm reorienting myself to where I'm at. And I'm sitting there, I've got the window open, and I'm like, I felt something. I was being watched. And I look up and I'm, seeing all this green shape of all these different trees. And, I do what I normally do when I can't see what I'm trying to see. I think something's being hidden. I kind of, lose my focus of what I'm looking at. And sure enough, I saw the dragon just like this, look straight at me through this grove. It's pareidolia, I think, or it's a version of it. But I had a conversation and she said, I'm right here. And I asked her, Barbara's the one that said, ask him who they are. And she said, I'm Fiona. And I just said, are you my earth dragon? And she goes, yeah. I said, well, how come I haven't met you? She said, you have. I've been with you since a child. I'm the one that instilled in you the love for nature that you have. I'm here always with you. All you have to do is look out your window. You do it all the time. You look out the car window when you were a kid and you look at things. I'm there. I'm just in the background. You can't see me as a dragon, but you can if you just look hard enough. And she told me she was always with me. And I'm like, okay. I could look at her and I could see, and sometimes it's not green, I could see her across the lake and just in the background. So that's my story about meeting Fiona, my earth dragon. And she's pretty strong and she's opened me up to a lot of different things.
Yeah. Which is what they say they're here to do. And like you said, it's like they're there, just as I said, they're always telling me, we're right here. You just need to ask us. Like, it's nothing magical about it. We are here, and we're here to work with you, right? And to help you, which clearly they've done. When you told that story, I got full chill, like my whole body, like chilled. It was like, oh, I love those stories. I love when people like their first time, like even seeing or meeting or hearing, because and a lot of people are just waking up to them, like, and remembering. It's not like, or there's people that have been doing it for 20 or 30 years when nobody else was. So they're definitely they're coming in more often for more reasons.
I think that if I can speak to that as well, like the elemental world is saying, look, if you integrate, like in a fairy tale, you've got the real darkness, right? The bad guy, the villain, whoever it is, and then you've got the hero and the whatever, all these other agents. And the elemental world is saying to us, look, at this point, you can have it the hard way, which is going to be all this earth turmoil. That's a choice that you guys can take. Or you can integrate your trauma, all your ancestral stuff, all of your stuff in this life, everything, your collective consciousness, and we can actually work through this, through the elemental world, by bringing forth the dragons, by bringing forth all of the just bringing the nature into our lives again, integrating back into nature. And the earth doesn't necessarily want all the turmoil. She would rather have expedited evolution, thank you very much, where we walk straight into a golden age. That's on the timeline, that's on offer. But it's how much digging down, how much inner work are we willing to do? And the dragons are like, and other mythical creatures too, archetypes are saying, we're here to work with you in this realm, which is the realm of Carl Jung. It's the realm of the dream. It's the realm of the unconscious. It's the realm of the child. What is coming up for you right now that your guide, whoever that is, can help you with? So it's powerful. It's a really powerful time. We're feeling everything all the time. There's no escape.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and yesterday, I know a couple of people that live in Hawaii, and they suddenly got hit with, like, all the islands got this massive storm, and on the radar you could actually see that they were dragons. Actually,
wow,
it was a while, but that was I think it was you, Tina, that posted the ice drag. Like, there was this cold front coming into the United States back in
my
October.
son is the one
and it
Who
was
brought that
this
to me?
huge dragon.
And he didn't see the dragon. He was talking to him on the phone, and he said, you know, right now, he said, I saw a temperature map of the United States, and it looked like Texas was on fire. Texas had all the heat. And I said, really? Oh, I'm sitting here in bed. I'm going to go pull up the Weather Channel and my app, and I pull out the temperature map, and I'm looking at it, and my husband we had done it we paused it, and he took a picture of it on the TV, because I said, those are dragons. Those are ice dragons. And he's like, yeah, right. I said, no. So he took a picture with his tablet, because my phone was in another room. And then he emailed it to me. So the next morning I went and I posted it, said, this looks like ice dragons flying over the entire United States with the face at Texas and blowing its fire.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I posted it to Barbara, and she's like, oh, wow. And so she went and channeled the ice dragons, and we're here for protection. And then June sent her photo of her ice storm, where she was prepping for the ice storm, and she said, I saw something in the sky. And when she posted those in the WhatsApp thingy, that was the first thing I saw, was 3 dragons right here. And then the second photo, which was just kind of pulled back, looked like an actual dragon just sitting in the sky. And I was like, I see those dragons. Yeah. But then again, I see them everywhere.
Right.
And maybe it's just because I'm open.
Yeah. And what was interesting about that was that I'd recently connected to the Icelandic dragons, a whole collective of Icelandic dragons that were talking about how they are now appearing because the ice is melting. It was a whole long conversation about, and that they've actually been hidden under the ice. And as it's melting, they're actually coming out onto Earth. But then they also showed me that because they said that we haven't flown, and they were meaning they haven't flown on Earth, but they showed me how they could get out into the galactic realms by going through Earth, into Middle Earth and out. But yeah, there was a whole, and then the ice dragons appeared, and I'm like, they're part of the Icelandic dragons coming over here. So there's a lot of more dragons are coming to the surface because they've been under that. And like, I think the same will happen with the poles as well, because you talked about that as well, Jacalyn, about the ice melting on the poles.
Yeah, I mean, we think we've explored on this planet. We haven't even scratched the surface. There is an inner world. There is an inner kingdom. There are little people. There are fairies. I mean, it's just that, dusk and dawn. There are magical times. Children see them. Animals see them. We stop seeing them. When you think about what the average human eye can actually see, it's like we're blind. We're blind. So often you'll be in a room and your cat will be doing this, whatever. Or a child or whatever, a dream, and we have just lost the ability to see them. But the thing is, I feel that the more we integrate ourselves into the earth elemental stuff, I think this galactic energy will return, this remembering, and then we're not going to be freaked out when we do see an actual dragon. I mean, think about what people would do right now. The first thing most people would do is they would try to capture it, try to put it somewhere, experiment on it. Like, come on, man, we're not ready for them. We're not ready for them. They deserve to be treated with respect, but they are making themselves known. Where I see them, which is really interesting, and I don't know if anybody else does, I see them in trees. So I'll see them on the horizon. I'll see something, I'll be, oh, that's a tree, but it's not, Yeah, it's just started happening. It's weird.
Yeah, I actually, and sometimes I sit, sometimes I don't, but I have a small dog, and I always find this funny. So that was the first time I saw, there was this huge dragon behind a tree, and he was really upset with me. He's actually one of my guardian dragons, he told me. And he's like, what are you doing with that dragon? You've tethered that dragon. And I said, no, that's my dog. And he said, no, it's a dragon. And I said, no, it's the dog. And we put them on leashes. And he said, it's a dragon. So my dog is actually a dragon. So I do have two guardian dragons that usually are behind trees, sort of they're as tall as, if not as bigger, but I usually see them through the trees.
I'm interested in your cards that you use. Is this
yes.
Do you mind sharing with people like maybe that don't know about how you use the oracle cards?
Yes. So after so this time last year, the dragons told me they'd been connecting with a couple of collectives, which is just a huge, massive dragons that are usually coming towards Earth. And I'd seen them in the distance as colors. And, and actually how I see them is, the rainbows that appear in the clouds, but they don't have a beginning, just in the cloud, like the cloud rainbow. So that was the collective. And then people had said they'd seen them all over the world. But as they were coming in, they started to speak to me, and they were the elder ancient dragons that were coming from many planets. They were gathering and coming to Earth because we needed them. And while they were inbound, they said, we want you to take our messages, and you need to do an oracle deck. And I was like, what? And they were like, that's what you need to do. And sort of I'd been thinking about it, but they gave me what I needed. And I say they're very prescriptive, but they're actually very bossy. They gave me the colors. They told me how to think. They literally went to the Crayola colors and named them. So my person that was doing developing the dragons thought it was great, because it was like, use this color and do this. And then it was like, and we want gold edging and this color on the back and this on the front. And she said, oh, this is going to be a printing nightmare. But it actually turned out not to be. I actually self-published. And the printer was able to do color on the back, color on the front, dragon. So it was sort of, I say it was somewhat basic, but the elements.
The glare, there you go.
Oh yes, you've got one of them. So I always have to read it. So this is what they wanted it named as: the ancient intergalactic guardians, dragons of the multiverse. And they really wanted, they also took me on a journey. They wanted me to, and this is what they do with me every time now, they want me to experience what they're talking about. So they actually, the titles are like ancient dragons. So there's the elder dragon, the oracle dragon, the priestess dragon, and the traveler dragon. And then the Atlantic dragons, there's Hercules, Jason, Pythagoras, and Zeus, divine feminine, divine masculine, elemental dragons, guardian dragons, Merlin, because I couldn't leave Merlin out. So there's Merlin the connector, Merlin contemplate, Merlin listen, and Merlin the wizard, star dragons, because they were the galactic dragons. And then they just gave me, I mean, they're simple. It's not like a whole load of reading. And really they wanted you to like feel connected. So there's this one, the Star Connect dragon, which they're all just magical. That's all I can say. Is my friend that did them was like, this is what I felt. I mean, we were very in sync, thankfully. And I'd say, this is what I'm writing about now. And I would send her the information and she'd say, this is what came through. So they were channeled in several ways. And I use that, how they get me to use them. So the one that, and this is the one that's behind me, the mother dragon, or mother. So it can either be the mother dragon or the mother of dragons. It depends. You can, however you feel. A lot of people feel connected to that, and it like gets you really in the heart, because it was, for me, the personal journey they took me on was, and it's for the love of the mother. I never felt the love of the mother. That was not my mother's role, which obviously affected me. And they took me through this whole sort of series of why it was important to feel a mother's love. And this card, most people feel, they get it and they usually cry. If it gets pulled for them or they read it, it's like it hits right there about that, because we all deserve the love of a mother. So that dragon brings that through. So that's really what they wanted. What they were showing me was I was feeling it as I was actually channeling their messages.
That's fascinating. So in a sense, they're like interdimensional advisors, guides, and helping us transcend and integrate. And also, you hear a lot about in quantum physics about the plasma dragons, which I talked to you a little bit about the other day, Barbara, and how they're seeing these configurations that they think, they try to say, oh, it must be like a fleet of ships, and then when they really look at it again, it looks like something doing the dance of the dragon, the flying of the dragon. And Edgar Casey spoke about this. I think Carl Jung spoke about this, and it's I mean, if you think about it, if you've got planets and stars and the sun and the moon, which is constellations, and they affect us, then you've got the archetypes. Why wouldn't there be these archetypal animals, creatures, mythical creatures that also in the macro and the micro, in the inner and the outer? And so it's just, all it is just bringing all that in again, isn't it? That wisdom in again.
Yes, and I think what they and again, Merlin's here. He's saying read about the connector, because Merlin has been with me for at least 30 plus years, not as a child that I remember, but at least the last 30 years. And he's always said he is the person that has connected me. He says, I am the connector, is how he says it. And he says, read that, because that will make people understand this was the channeled message. The Merlin energy is rising to meet the needs of many humans and dragons. He says, although I have been around for many, many centuries, I am many things to many people. Dear soul, I am able to connect you to many. You know me as your connector. Though you may see me as Merlin the wizard, you may see me as Merlin the dragon. I connect you to other beings, energies, or dragons. I support you as you connect to their knowledge and memories of being ancient and the memories of being a dragon. Also, the memories of the past, present, and the future. Come ride with me. I'll take you there. So, I think and people use oracle decks in many different ways. For me, before I did this, they would direct me to an oracle deck, and they would say, just connect with the energy and give the message from the energies. So, because they wanted me to practice that before I actually did this oracle deck. So for many months, I would say, oh, this is the deck that I'm going to use, and these are the messages. Sometimes they would sync up with what had been written about them, but they wanted me to use that intuition. So that's how they work with me. And I use them in different ways. I mean, I've done a couple of, I do oracle readings if people want them. I've done a couple of events online that Tina's been to with a couple of other people that connect with dragons. And we've used art, channeled art, and me using my oracle deck, and the other person is just developing so that we connect and everybody gets the same but different message, right? So it's three of us reading, but it's interesting how it flows, right? They will pick up. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you think about the classic tarot deck as well, I mean, that's it. I mean, literally, I imagine, I'm just going to put this out there. I bet if you got a deck of cards and you put like a black dot, a white dot, a blue dot, and you went all the way through and you just shuffled them, someone like you would be able to pull that card and that blue circle would mean something. We are programmed and hardwired to be able to transmute using language of symbolism, right? So it's great. And I think we're living in a time unparalleled in human history where humans are free. They're off the reservation. They're free to actually express their individuality, their mythology in any which way they want. and become their own oracle maker. So, you know, in our space, Tina will attest to this. We, you know, there are no gurus, there are no teachers. We show and we hold wisdom collectively, because we know that in the future, everything's going to be crowdsourced, because we're all bringing through the talents. But yeah, I mean, I would love to have a session with you with a small group. I think that'd be really perhaps
Yes,
something we could film.
right, and it's fun as well. So when the couple that I've done, we chose not to record it because they were personal messages.
Right.
So, you know, but if people are open to that, yes, I do. And you know, the funny thing is that I said in the beginning, when I started to like appear on social media, I said, and I should know that when I say I don't want to do something, I said I don't want to be known as just a typical reader. That's not what I'm here for, right? But it's a way for me to tap into energy.
Exactly.
When I used to do that when I did hands-on, you know, healing, I was tapping into the energy. And again, it's just a different way that the dragon, because for the longest time I'd say everybody has their personal dragons. I don't seem to have a personal dragon. Why don't I have a personal dragon? And they were like, you don't need one. But you connect with collectives. Not everybody can deal with that massive energy. And there's usually one or two spokespersons, or I just get the general message. And it comes in really fast. And I just get, and like I did on Friday, as I said, I tapped in, I got literally galactic information flooding in to me. In the afternoon, when I had some time, I pulled some cards and they all lined up. It was like confirmation of, and I used archangels and my oracle deck, right? So and it was just confirmation, because then because I'm human, I have to confirm to myself as well. I know what I'm experiencing, I know what I'm hearing, but it was like and it's a way of like showing people that, as you say, none of it, we're all getting information in different ways. And but I do think that this quantum connection is just like, I just want everybody to do it, because it's just, I mean, I said earlier, like I've only been doing this 5 days and I plugged into that.
Just want everybody, you want to share it to the world, you want it to blow up, you want everybody to experience.
I mean,
that's it, exactly.
If I can tie it in with everything we've been talking about, because we've gone all over the place and it's been wonderful and complex and rich and individuated. I'm going to bring it back to this again. 5 steps. Essentially, if you come back into a state of deep coherence, your gifts come online. Your gifts come online. Tina's unique insights are not mine or yours, but together we bring our gifts online. And instead of it being, well, my truth is more important than your truth, it's going to be, oh my gosh, I never saw how that integrates with what I do over here. Wow, look at that. And it's that configuration or collaboration that becomes the cosmic age, and we call it omnism. So if somebody sees on my site omnism, what's she talking about? Om represents source creator, the one, the higher power, whatever you want to call it, eternal consciousness, right? And the N represents the nuanced, novel you, your individuated life. You're meant to come here and dance and celebrate and be fabulous and run the on power through. So when you run the on power through and you're grounded to the earth, why wouldn't dragons show up? They want to party with you. They want to feel you, right? And share with you. And so 20 years ago, if somebody said to me, you might see a dragon, I'd freaked out. But you know what, today? Bring it on. Bring it on. How great is that? Fabulous.
Yeah, it is. And I'm glad that you brought that, because I told you I'm a Pisces. I'll be all over the place because I love going out and doing that. And I think, and what I would encourage people to do as well is to go and look at on YouTube. You've got some short videos which I think explain so much.
I've got 2 courses, teeny tiny, like 4-minute videos each, and one is called Level 1. I would start there. It's what omnism is. It's all the messages that I received in the first 2 months of actually going into the quantum field. There's a lot of material. Then I would suggest people try Level 2. Then I would suggest that people at the same time join us every day, Monday to Friday, for DCT, because they're going to feel before they think it through. It's a feeling space. So feel it, try it. You've got nothing to lose. You're going to sit quietly for 11 minutes Monday to Friday and feel better. Just try it, see how you feel, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think knowing that, you know, our mind will sometimes say, you haven't got time to do that. It's like finding back time.
I've got time to doom scroll for 3 hours. I
Right.
know. I'm talking to me. Big fat finger pointing right
know.
at me, by the way, ladies.
I know. Yeah. Because, you know, that's
Me.
we're human, right? And we'll be
We're
like,
human,
oh, I don't need
you know? We
that.
dilly-dally.
Right. So this has been a fabulous conversation. I'm
Yeah,
really
thank you for having us,
Well,
really,
thank you. And
Barbara.
I'm so glad that Tina came and talked, because you really have, Tina. You've like grown so much in such a short period of time that I think you could be the poster child for DCT.
Thank you.
She's a wise woman. She's a wise woman.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, great. So I'm going to end the recording in a minute, but I'll put up
I'll put some links underneath for people to find us, and that'd be great.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank
and
you.
It's Saturday, so Saturday afternoon, late afternoon for you in France. Yeah. So have a good
Saturday
rest of the day. It's still early for you, Tina, right?
Oh yeah, it's about 10:20 my time.
Yeah.
And I've got
wild, isn't it?
Got some herbal stuff. I'm gonna go see my son and pick up some groceries. So I do have a full day.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you. Bye, Barbara. Bye, Tina.